Hi, welcome to another of our Success with People live cast. I'm Trevor E.S. Smith and I'll be your host today. So while the streams are being aligned, I want to invite you today to set aside some time because we want to discuss matters that are potentially transformative. We do invest time and effort to present content that can be transformational. And today we want to look at three keys to being heard and valued. It's important also to be valued, not just to be heard, but your contribution should be valued. And this is part of enhancing your influence and impact. So I want to start this discussion or share something with you to give you an insight into why this is important and why I am committed to sharing these messages. Some time ago, at the end of a workshop, team building workshop, performing, I'm working with high performing teams. An executive, young lady, middle age, came up and held my hands and she said to me, you know, I wish I had done this workshop before my sister died. And she had a serious face, obviously, because you could see hurt because she had totally misunderstood her sister and they were, not fully aligned. But when I went through and showed her, I think it was the eye style of behavior that her sister had a preference for, and she just couldn't understand. But when we went through the workshop, and she then got an appreciation of what would inspire her sister to behave in the way that she did, came this situation that, if only I had known. And so the point I'm raising here is that what I'm about to share is helpful for our personal or professional um, career growth, but it is critical as well. All our relationships. So, as we look at this issue then of influence, and that story, by the way, is just one of many. I could share with you several situations where there's an awakening, a difference, an understanding, a sudden situation where there's no, I understand. So that is why. So let's move forward. Influence, of course, is the cornerstone of effective leadership. If you can't get people to do what it is that you want them to do, then you're not going to be highly successful as a leader. But it also is the underpinning of healthy interpersonal relationships. And influence then is that capacity, that ability that you look at and you're saying, whoa, that person has it. And sometimes we call that charisma, but it's not necessarily that. But that idea that you can actually share a thought, share something that impacts the thoughts or the feelings and get people to move. That's I'm laughing because I had a little dog, a dog that went across to the neighbor's fence, you know. And so we went and got him, and I put, the leash around him, and I was pulling the dog, and she just wouldn't move. She just I pulled, and the neighbor said, "Okay, let me the leash a little bit," and the dog just moved with her, and I said, "Whoa, look at that! That's the difference between people who have influence, that we would, Say that's an influential person. Well, all of us can enhance our influence and have greater impact. Yes, whether it is getting people to move, or in my case, getting my dog to move. Um, it's important, but let's get serious here. So, research, and a lot of the research that I will quote today, really and truly, is just confirmation of what we know anecdotally. Yes? So, here is Cialdini, 2001, says that people are more likely to comply with requests when they perceive the requester as having authority. In other words, why should I follow you? Why should I follow you? And guess what? Influence does not necessarily mean that you have to have a reporting relationship, for example, or the person might see that you are their superior. You can influence people, even above you. You can influence your boss. You can change your boss's thoughts, feelings, and actions. So it's the study is good, but I would just want to make it clear that it influence is not necessarily dependent on hierarchy. Okay, all right. So let's move on. I think that some of these are obvious, but yeah. So remember, we're going to look at 3 keys because of the time. We will be here not longer than 35 minutes. So that's why I want you to put away whatever it is that's distracting you and just give me these few minutes. So the first key is understanding your audience's communication, your behavioral style. This is so critical. And I talk about being a behavioral linguist. If we are, let us say, traveling the world and we can speak many languages, we're going to be a lot more successful in terms of connecting and communicating with people. Well, behavior is like a set of languages. We speak behaviorally. My body language, my tone, the words that I use, basically, is a different language from maybe yours. And that's why we have this classification of behavioral styles. And if we can get to the place where we can understand and appreciate different behavioral styles, if we can discern when somebody is using one behavioral style as against another, and these things are very nuanced. Yeah. So while we look at 4 classifications, 4 major classifications: dominance, influence, steadiness, conscientiousness, within each of those classifications, there's a whole bag of nuanced behaviors. For example, with extended DISC and the behavioral DNA assessments, they identified 40 unique behavioral styles within each category. So we're looking at 160 identified unique behavioral styles. So the skill then is to be able to pick up what it is, what style is being used by an individual. And so when we are communicating with them, they're going to hear us better when we speak to them in their preferred behavioral tone. And of course, here it is, Harvard again confirming that personalized communication significantly enhances outcomes. So when you have tailored messages, they're going to be 40% more persuasive than if you just send out one size fits all. So here's a quick case study that I want to share with you. This is one of my earliest interventions. It was, we were invited to come and work with an export department. What had happened here is that it was a new team leader for the department, and there was a lot of confusion, a lot of challenges. And so I was invited to go and try and sort it out, and did the behavioral assessment and had the dialogue. And the one that I want to highlight, there are a number of um, lessons from it, but the big one I wanted to talk about was the manager said to me that this person, this team member is lazy and, don't want to do any work. It's lazy. And they were kind of shocked because these were highly functional people that were doing things. So what happened is this: the individual who was now quote unquote lazy had a preference for using the S style. The new leader had a preference for using the D style, dominance. So it is steadiness, dominance. Okay. So the S style usually is submissive. They don't want to be confrontational. They want to have peace and harmony. So what happened before is that this was a highly empowered team, right? So the team members would just do what it is that they saw that needed to be done. So this young lady, as usual, went and did something that she saw needed to be done. The manager said to her, next time you ask me before you go and do things outside of your remit, ask me first. Now, the S-style individual hears that as to not cross your boss. Just do what it is that you're assigned to do and wait to be told what to do if there is something else to do. So she dutifully finished her job, her tasks, and would wait. And then this style leader is saying, look at that. This person is sitting there idly looking at the world spinning. That's it. So when we found out what it is, we of course resolved the issue. So that's one of the things that I'm saying to you. If you understand the behavioral style of individuals, the communication, the relationships can be totally different. And the team dynamics and the performance can be greatly enhanced. So that's the first thing then, is to understand who it is that you are leading, that you're communicating with. Understand what it is, how they want to be heard. Yes. How they want to receive information. We do not want to go and speak to somebody who, my famous thing, somebody who speaks Swahili and you're shouting to them in Greek, because why don't you understand what I'm saying? Are you stupid? That's what is happening sometimes when we're dealing with people behaviorally and they're not doing what it is that we want them to do, or we're not able to convince them. We start to raise our voices and we start to be animated. That's not the solution. All right. So key number 2 would be adaptability. Believe me, this is so critical, because this really, as it says here, is a launching pad to deeper connections. When we can tailor our communication, our interaction to fit the audience, then we're going to actually build rapport. And our influence is obviously going to be enhanced. And again, this study from Applied Psychology, Journal of Applied Psychology, talked about it. It says that individuals who adapt their communication style to match their audience are perceived as more influential, clearly. If you speak to me in my language, if you speak to me behaviorally and behave in a way with which I'm comfortable, I am more likely to listen to you and to respond to what it is that you need to get done. Fact of life. All right. So one of the things that we are pushing and trying to help leaders to do is to learn to flex their style. That's what we're talking about. When we say flex their style, we just mean adapt. Change your style to suit the situation. That's basically what it is. And that, we do a lot of work. People talk about emotional intelligence. That is a hallmark of emotional intelligence. When you're able to change, adapt your style to suit your audience, that is emotional intelligence. And so there's a study in the Journal of Applied Psychology that talks about this capacity, this ability to be flexible. Don't be just one style. That's me, that's who I am. And if you want to work with me, then you need to fit in. That's not a successful strategy. So leaders who demonstrate flexibility in their communication styles are more likely to inspire trust and engagement. And we talk a lot about engagement. One of the reasons for low engagement, and the statistics indicate that 2/3 of the staff is just going through the motions. They're not fully engaged. And part of it comes down to the leadership. Are leaders trying to communicate with team members in the language that they prefer, the behavioral language that is their preference? So, Johnson, another study, revealed that individuals who demonstrate adaptability are more likely to build strong relationships and influence. Yeah, clearly. Yes. If I can speak to you in the way that you want to interact, aren't you more likely to be influenced by me and to warm towards me? So I hope that I'm trying to do that here now, so that some of you will actually warm towards me. What style am I using here? That's a good question. I come back to that in a while. So here's another study. And this is a meta-analysis that looks at numerous studies. And what they found is that there was a significant positive correlation between the ability to adapt one's communication style to match that of the audience and increase influence. That's basically what it is. So the study concluded that individuals who demonstrate flexibility in their communication approach are more successful in persuading and influencing others. There we go. There we go. So maybe I have some D-style individuals listening, and so they would note that I'm trying to be bullet pointed. I'm trying to get to the point. I'm not going to drag on and give you a lot of long stories. Yes? Okay. I did, in fact, share, and put some fun in there and some innovative ideas in there from my iStyle audience. And I think my start, when I gave you that another story, cited the case of that middle-aged executive who was remorseful, had a lot of concern about the fact that her sister passed away, and they were not connected because of a lack of exposure to what I'm sharing today. And my C-style audience notice study after study, evidence-based. Yes. Okay. So there it is. Living life of flexing my style. What is my real style? That's another question. So here we go. Here are some practical examples as to what we're talking about. As to you in the middle, and you have, these 4 big toolkits. That's basically what it is. And within each bag of tools are several nuanced behaviors. But if we're communicating with the D style, which is the red zone there, bullet points, bottom line. What is it that we're going to get? Results. Make it happen. Let's make it happen. No. If I'm speaking to I-style audience or individual, I need to be engaging. They want to be engaged. They also want to not just look at the destination. They want to see the outcomes, but the journey is also important. What kind of experience are we going to have as we move towards the destination? So that's important for us to show what's happening on the way. And really on the way, we should be looking at, um, blue skies. We should be smelling the roses along the way. That's how life is. We should be, a lot, not just looking at getting to from point A to point B, but what happens on the way. If I'm communicating with my, individuals and my audience who have a preference for the S style steadiness, then empathy. We're very concerned about the people impact. How is this impacting people? What are the implications of this move? How is it going to affect Mary? And how is it going to affect John? Because we're concerned that the people component of life needs to be taken into consideration. It's not just about results. It's not just about making things happen. It's also what's happening to the people. How is this impacting people? Yeah. And willingness also to submit and to support. If I'm speaking to my C style, conscientiousness, people who have a preference for that style, then precision, accuracy, some structure, logic. Does it make sense? Those are some of the considerations that we need to have as we communicate. So this gives you an idea of practically flexing styles. All right, so let's move ahead. Get out of here on time. The third key, so the first thing we looked at was understanding the audience, right? The next thing is flexing. So you understand the audience, what they're going to do about it. You're going to adapt your style to make sure it works. And then this one is key: active listening. Man, there should be a PhD relating to listening, because listening is so challenging, right? But the idea here is to not only listen to words, So, when you do communication, they talk about body language, talk about some of these things. This is it. If we understand behavioral styles, we are actually going much deeper than the words or even the body language. So that's one of the keys now. That's a different component, a higher level of active listening. So Harvard Business Review published a document, that suggests that active listening fosters trust and enhances influence. So, and it validates different perspectives. What we're saying, diverse perspectives, it allows views to contend. Yeah, that's a challenge that we are seeing now, where there seems to be this idea that everybody needs to rally around one idea. And if not, there's a major conflict. There's not the discipline or the patience to listen and to say, okay, out of all these ideas, can we agree around some of them? Of course, there will be disagreements, but how willing are we to really hear contending views? I don't want to get into the political arena, but just think about that as to whether anybody is listening to the other side. And if there's any chance of people coming together. And it's happening in the workplace where we have silos as well. The key is let diverse views come to the table, listen. We can reject, but let us listen at least first. So if we are able to do that, then we're going to foster meaningful relationships. At least there will be respect. And there's an interesting study. Nowadays, we want innovation. Well, the only way you're going to have innovation is if people allow crazy ideas, if you want, but ideas to come to the table. If everybody's marching to the same drum beat, there's not going to be any innovation. So that's one of the considerations that you need to have. Yeah. And so this study demonstrates that leaders who actively listen to their team members are better equipped to make informed decisions. They can make better decisions. And also the potential is there for innovation. And so we, through our discerning communication model of leadership and communication, our discerning model of leadership and communication, we actually help people to listen better in terms of being able to communicate and to hear nuanced views, decode communication. So Trevor might be come across as being overbearing, and maybe you feel that he's too dominant, too pushy. But if your team goes through workshop where they understand behavioral styles, they start to discount that already. They say, okay, that's Trevor, I understand. So let me hear what he's saying, underneath this style. And of course, Trevor knows that if he's communicating with Susan, who has a preference for the S style, he is going to get better results if he kind of tones down and be less animated. That's the kind of value that this process brings. All right. So I want to give you 3 case studies very quickly. One of them is improving sales effectiveness, where a sales team is leaving too much on the table, not meeting their targets. They go through the scientific selling course, which includes discerning communication, and presto, they start to be able to communicate. They start to be able to understand their clients a lot better. Yeah. So they know. I'm going to give you one example here. Is Stevie. Dear Steve, success, I don't know, well, I wouldn't say successful, but he is a paper products rep. So he has a great relationship with one of his customers, a retailer, let us call her Susie. He goes forward, he goes there all the time, and Susie welcomes him. Susie wants to see him and say, hey, what's happening? And they have a wonderful time. And a visit while, Steve is there, Susie is on her iPad sending off an order to Steve's competitor. What's the issue here? The relationship is good, but Susie has been ordering from the competitor for a long time. S-style likes the routine. They just go forward. And unless there's a compelling reason to change, they're not going to. And Steve doesn't understand that he needs to, and hear this carefully, he needs to apply firm persuasion to change that routine. We're not saying overpower her, etc., but he needs to be a little bit more persuasive, a little bit more persistent in terms of saying to Susie, hey, Susie, here are the benefits. You need to make this change. Smiling and expecting that Susie is going to just say, oh, you're a nice guy, so therefore I'm going to change it. It isn't going to happen. And so I just want to suggest to you that if your sales force has not mastered discerning communication, you're leaving at least 20% on the table for your customers. And we can fix it. Let's move forward. So the next one is a similar case, well, in the impact, and that's conflict in the team, consistently conflict in the team. Well, similar to what we did with the export department, this is a regular feature where you go in, do the behavioral assessments, put up your team maps where people can see, the preferred style of each other, and teach them to master the language of behaviors, discerning communication, how they can expect to speak to an individual, how they expect the individual to respond, how they want to be heard, and how they want to give instructions, how they want to give feedback. All of that happens, and peace reigns. Of course, they will always have a little issue here and there, but this is a winning formula. Works every time. The other thing that we can do, another study, is the impact of use of behavioral DNA assessments. So we spoke a while ago about the team maps. Those team maps are so powerful. It tells you where people are. It tells you what they extended this, not only their natural style, but it also speaks to their perceived need to adjust. And so when we look at that and we look at the data that accompanies the maps, we're able to prescribe solutions that work. And so some of the benefits that come from this kind of work is that you maximize individual strengths. So people, I'm not saying that you're not to move out of your comfort zone, but people are aligned to the areas in which they are best suited. And the team as a whole is more closely aligned with the requirements of the environment. And so you are able to develop the team, the leadership or leaders actually within the team in order to leverage your strengths. All right. So invite you to incorporate these three keys into your communication and into your interaction with others. Send me an email, info@successwithpeople.org. Info@successwithpeople.org. So this is going to help you to get your message heard. It's going to help you to enhance your connections, whether it is work or in your other relationships. And it's going to help you to engender mutual respect. Yeah. And who are we? I just wanted to quickly tell you that there's information like this available outside of sending me this email. All right. So these live casts are on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you look at extended disk solutions, I didn't get the extended disk solutions channel, and you can get all of these live casts. Also, we have on LinkedIn the Leadership DNA Club, which really is not one of these advertising boards. It's just good, solid content. So ask me, link up with me, ask me for access to join in the Leadership DNA Club. And of course, we have this weekly newsletter, the Success with People newsletter. Again, you can subscribe on LinkedIn. All right. So who are we? We are the Success with People Academy, and we are a member of the InfoServe group. And we deploy our discerning model of communication and leadership to promote personal, team, and organizational growth. And of course, as franchise holders, we provide granular behavioral DNA assessments from Extended Disk on the revolutionary Fix platform. We are also SHRM certification provider, which means that we function at high international standards. So send me an email, info@successwithpeople.org, and let's have a conversation. Thank you.